All right, so online crypto casinos. It's a whole new world out there, and we're diving in headfirst today. We're looking specifically at shuffle.com, and luckily you sent over this super in-depth review from ccn.com to help us unpack it all.
Thorough reviews are key with these things, definitely.
Got to know what we're dealing with. So,
Yeah.
first impressions, what's the review saying about shuffle.com? Is this the real deal, or should we be hitting the virtual back button?
Well, right off the bat, the review highlights their massive game selection. We're talking thousands of options here. Slots, obviously, live sports betting, even esports. And they've gone all in on their own cryptocurrency too, SHFL.
Creating a whole ecosystem, huh? Ambitious. Makes you wonder about the security aspect, though. That's always a major concern with online casinos, even more so with cryptocurrency added to the mix.
Yeah, and the review really emphasizes their Curacao e-gaming license. So that's supposed to mean they're held to certain standards, fair play, data protection, all that.
Okay, so some oversight at least. But
Yeah.
is that license as strict as, say, what you'd find in Malta or the UK? I know those are known for being pretty stringent.
That's an interesting point. Curacao seems to be a go-to for a lot of these crypto casinos. Might be they offer a bit more flexibility in terms of regulation compared to those other jurisdictions. Could be attractive to muter companies or those focusing on more niche markets.
So some oversight, but maybe not the strictest out there. That's some good context you don't always get just skimming headlines.
Exactly, and that makes user feedback even more important, which thankfully the ccn.com review digs into as well.
Perfect. Before we get to that, though, what about bonuses? Everyone loves a good bonus.
Oh, shuffle.com has those. The review mentions a 100% deposit match up to $1,000.
Whoa, okay. That's generous. Sounds almost too good to be true. There's got to be a catch.
There's always a catch.
Right.
35x wagering requirement on that one.
All right, hold on. Let's break that down for our listeners. What does a 35x wagering requirement actually mean in practice?
Essentially, you can't withdraw any winnings from that bonus until you've wagered 35 times the bonus amount, plus your initial deposit. So say you'd deposit $100, get a $100 bonus. You'd need to wager a total of $7,000 before cashing out any winnings from that bonus.
So it's not just about winning, it's about playing through a significant amount. Changes your strategy a bit, doesn't it?
Definitely. And the review gets into even more detail about their rollover calculation, which adds, well, another layer of complexity.
Okay, so maybe a bit too much math for the average casual gambler.
You're probably right, but it is crucial to know this stuff going in.
Absolutely. Transparency is key. Speaking of which, something else caught my eye in this review. Apparently, Shuffle.com actually shows you what the high rollers are betting. Amounts, everything. What's the thinking behind that?
It's a very deliberate feature for sure. Could be about building trust, showing that the site is active, maybe even enticing players with the idea of those high-stakes wins.
Like a look what you could win kind of thing.
Exactly. You see those recent wins tickers in land-based casinos? This is like that, but on a whole other level.
Interesting. It's almost like they're gamifying the gambling itself as a whole other layer of, I don't know, aspiration maybe. But let's shift gears a bit. What about the players who aren't dropping thousands on a single hand? What's the overall user feedback like?
The review does say it's mixed. There's plenty of praise for their customer service, though. Live chat is supposed to be very responsive.
That's always reassuring. Especially with online platforms, you never know when you might need some help navigating the virtual casino floor, I guess you'd call it.
Right, right. And people seem to really like the variety of games, too. Slots and esports sections get particularly high marks.
So plenty to keep you entertained, even if you're not, right up there with the high rollers.
Yeah.
Anything consistently negative in the feedback, though? What should potential players be aware of?
There were a couple of recurring concerns, actually. One that popped up a few times was account suspensions.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Seems like some users felt Shuffle.com was a little quick to suspend accounts, often citing, vague terms of service violations.
That's a bit worrying. I mean, no one wants to be on edge about their account getting shut down, especially if they're winning.
It's definitely something to keep in mind. And it sort of ties into another common complaint, actually meeting those wagering requirements we talked about.
Oh, right.
Some players felt it was almost impossible to actually withdraw any bonus winnings.
So almost like those bonuses are designed to be more enticing than attainable.
It's a possibility. Although, to be fair, the review does mention that these types of complaints are pretty standard across online gambling in general.
Yeah, that's true.
Seems unhappy players are just more vocal than the satisfied ones,
Makes sense. Like that old saying, you don't hear much from the people who win the lottery.
Exactly, exactly. And the review emphasizes that it's always important to, well, take online reviews with a grain of salt. Sites like ccn.com do have methods for weeding out the fake or misleading reviews, so sticking with reputable sources is always a good bet, no pun intended.
Good advice. So we've covered the good, the bad, and maybe slightly shady. But there's still this big elephant in the room, right? Shuffle.com being a crypto-exclusive platform is a bold move, especially in a world where, let's be honest, a lot of people are still trying to fully grasp the whole Bitcoin thing. What's the advantage there for the player? Why go all in on crypto for gambling? It's a big step, isn't it? Going all in on cryptocurrency for gambling.
It's definitely a niche market, and the review outlines both the potential benefits and downsides. You've got the increased anonymity, the potentially faster transaction speeds, and the allure of potentially multiplying your winnings if the value of your chosen cryptocurrency goes up.
So it's kind of like betting on the future of crypto itself. A double gamble.
That's one way to look at it, but the review also points out the risks involved. The biggest one is volatility. Cryptocurrency values can fluctuate wildly, so what you win today could be worth less tomorrow.
Oh, that's a roller coaster. I'm not sure I'd want to ride. What else should we be wary of?
The lack of regulation is another concern. Cryptocurrency is still evolving when it comes to oversight, which can create complications if there's a dispute or something goes wrong.
That's a big one. It's like playing with house rules, but you don't know what the rules are until you're already in the game.
It's definitely a risk-reward scenario. But for some players, the advantages of crypto outweigh the downsides, especially those who value anonymity and speed.
That brings us to Shuffle.com's own SHFL coin. It's kind of a bold move for them. Why do they have their own cryptocurrency?
It's an intriguing move, and the review suggests it could have major implications. It gives them more control over their ecosystem and potentially even reduces transaction fees. It's like their own in-game currency, except you can use it to buy things outside the casino, too.
So it's a gamble for them, too, investing in their own coin.
Exactly. And it raises questions about transparency and whether they're promoting SHFL over other cryptocurrencies. It's something to keep an eye on.
So we've explored the bonuses, the user experiences, and the unique crypto landscape. Now, the million-dollar question. Based on this ccn.com review, would you say Shuffle.com is deal or a no deal for the average online casino enthusiast?
It's not as simple as a yes or no. The review presents both the strengths and weaknesses, and it ultimately comes down to personal preference and risk tolerance.
Okay, let's break it down for our listeners. What are the main takeaways? What were Shuffle.com's biggest strengths and weaknesses, according to the review?
Their strengths include a huge variety of games, a user-friendly platform, responsive customer service, and tempting bonuses.
And their weaknesses.
Mixed user reviews, concerns about account suspensions and the difficulty of meeting those bonus requirements, and the risks associated with crypto exclusivity.
So it's a double-edged sword. You get the excitement of a new crypto casino, but you have to weigh the risks involved.
Precisely. If you're looking for a platform with a wide selection of games and are comfortable navigating the world of cryptocurrency, Shuffle.com might be worth exploring. But if you're someone who prefers traditional payment methods and a more established casino, it might be better to stick with more well-known names.
Good points. And one last thing the review mentions that Shuffle.com, like many online casinos these days, emphasizes responsible gambling tools. They have 24-hour cooldown periods, self-exclusion options, and all those things. This got me thinking, is this a sign that the industry is finally taking player protection seriously, or is it just savvy marketing? What do you think?
It's a question worth considering. The industry is evolving, and the emphasis on responsible gambling could be a genuine shift towards player protection. But it's also possible that it's a clever marketing strategy to address growing concerns about gambling addiction.
That's a good takeaway. It's a reminder to be cautious, even when a site promotes itself as responsible.
Exactly. It's good to be aware of the potential for both genuine concern and clever marketing.
So, there you have it. A deep dive into Shuffle.com. We've unpacked the details, explored the potential upsides and downsides, and even touched on the evolving landscape of responsible gambling. Remember, knowledge is power, especially in the exciting but potentially risky world of online casinos. Do your research, read those reviews carefully, and most importantly, gamble responsibly.